Great, great. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Today is a wonderful day as we all meet to have our first forum, advocacy forum, under the umbrella of Youth Sleep America. And as the president of Youth Sleep America, my name is Dr. Oleg Chernyshev, and other members of the team here, Dr. Marcus, he is one of the board members, and we would like to welcome our crowd. I see 8 people. It's a few and powerful at the same time group. More people probably will join because we send a lot of advertisement within our means. I just would like to remind you that goals of Youth Sleep America are very simple. We educate, advocate, and advise about sleep as a human right, and collaborate and support all sleep initiatives to promote sleep elsewhere and help humans to sleep better. So today we have special guest, Mr. JP, and I know, Dr. Marcos, you also would like to say some nice words about your good colleague friend who made significant contribution as we speak to sleep health, and from different corners of our country, different states, we were observing numerous, multiple, frequent efforts to move permanent standard time initiative to the law, and finally make American people to have a relief from these shifts which are happening when we're changing our time during shifts spring and autumn. So safe standard time is our best friend, and I would like again to say that president of Safe Standard Time, Mr. JP, is going to give us brief presentation, about 15 minutes, but if you roll over a little bit, it's fine. After that, we will open floor for discussion and identify the best ways how we can collaborate, support, and promote it together on all fronts, legislative front, media front, and the general population also need to know about it. So the floor is yours, Mr. J, and I just want to make sure Dr. Marcos is in and he has something to say, and if he has what to say, please go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to welcome my good friend Mr. J here. He was kind enough to give us his time today. And Jay, he can speak shortly about himself, but I've known him for years now through advocacy work and through work with the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. He is astronaut by background, right? Amateur astronaut, right, Jay?
Amateur astronomer.
And he has been very passionate about our cause here and why permanent standard time versus day standard time. So without further ado, I think we're all eager to hear from him more about what he's going to talk to us briefly today. So you can go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you very much for having me. As is printed on the screen, my name is JP, and I am the president of the nonprofit Safe Standard Time.
May I just interrupt? For some reason, I'm not seeing. I'm seeing only a lady with guitar who played that music. I don't see the actual presentation. Could we make sure that it's shared correctly?
Yeah, I think you need to share, Jay.
All right, I'll activate my screen sharing. Here we go. Let's see. Where is Microsoft PowerPoint?
Yeah, take your time. Take your time.
Okay. Yeah.
No rush here. Yeah.
I'm not the most familiar with Microsoft PowerPoint, but I think, are you seeing?
Now we see it. Now we see it.
Yes,
Yes, we
yes,
see the
it's good
man
now.
and in written Mr. JP and Safe Standard Time President. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that. Yeah, I was just in Austin, Texas yesterday. I was in Bismarck, South Dakota a few days ago. I was in Washington, D.C. I do a lot of travel for this work, so I might be a little jet lagged. But thank you everybody for attending and watching. My name is Mr. JP, and I'm the president of Safe Standard Time. I'm also the co-chair for the Coalition of Permanent Standard Time, and I have some links there. I'm active on X at Mr. JP. I'm on LinkedIn, J the letter, and there's my email if you'd like to get in contact with me. I was asked to present a little bit of history and a little bit of current events and a little bit of science. So let's get into it. You should be seeing now a slide that says brief history of time. And for millennia, humans were measuring time based on the sun's position in the sky. That is solar time. This is very sensible, and it was done worldwide. In the late 19th century, though, we started to invent locomotive steam engines and electric telegraphs, and we were globalizing, and we were finding that we needed to have some kind of standardization of time. So we started dividing the world into time zones based on the sun still, and that lasted until World War I. Now, during the World War, we started to get a little creative with the clock, and we thought, well, if we could move the clock forward and backward, maybe we could get some more productivity out of people, save a little energy, and that's when daylight saving time was introduced. It was not popular, though, and when peacetime was restored, we returned to that permanent standard time. World War II came, and we tried permanent DST, and that was not popular, and we got rid of it after the war. But we didn't abolish daylight saving time. We just got rid of it, and it came back at the local level. Different cities and counties and states started to bring it back. And then in 1966, we had the Uniform Time Act, which federalized the current system of flip-flopping between standard time in the winter and daylight time in the summer. Briefly, in 1974, the United States tried permanent DST for the oil crisis, and it was very unpopular, and it was repealed within that same year. So that's a brief history. I'll get into the details next. Now, first of all, the daylight is always longer in the summer because the Earth, your hemisphere tilts toward the sun in the summer, and it tilts away from the sun in the winter. And so when we're marking the hours of the day where 12 p.m. is high noon, we get more hours of daylight in summer and we get fewer hours in winter. And nothing can change that. That is just how nature works. Here's some illustrations of how these time zones work. We divide the globe into sort of 24 orange slices, one for each hour of the day. And within the middle of the time zone, what we call the meridian, the sun is directly overhead at 12 noon local standard time. So that's how that's working. So you can see that when it's 12 noon in Greenwich, England, where the Royal Observatory is, the sun might just be starting to come up in North America, and the sun might just be setting in Asia. So this is very important in the winter when we have the fewest numbers of hours of daylight. With most school and work starting around 8 o'clock, we still are not starting before sunrise, but we're starting after sunrise. And that's healthy. We need to be waking up and seeing the light of day before we're going indoors for school and for work. With daylight saving time, if we had that permanently, as in the winter, then we'd be renumbering these hours and we'd be forcing ourselves to wake up and go to school or work in the dark. The time zones look like this, and they've been kind of abused. Ideally, the borders would be the brown lines that I have. But you can see the Eastern time zone is kind of spilled over into Michigan and Indiana and a few other states. This is done for economic reasons. Detroit decided they'd rather be aligned with the New York Stock Exchange instead of the Chicago Stock Exchange. It was not done for health and safety reasons. Now, with daylight saving time, it makes everything absolutely worse. Every single time zone that is observing daylight saving time is completely misaligned from the sun when they're observing daylight saving time. Now on the ground, this is how this would look out your bedroom window in the morning. On the top row, I have several photos of permanent standard time, of just regular standard time, of standard time in January. This is what we're used to seeing. But if we try permanent daylight time, like we tried in 1974 and we tried in 1944, then it's dark in the morning at 8 o'clock across the nation. And again, that is depressing and it's dangerous. People need to see the light of day when they're waking up and getting ready and commuting and starting their work and their school. Here are some maps to give you some exact numbers. The top two maps are for standard and the bottom two are for daylight saving time in January. And again, on the left is the time of the latest sunrise, and on the right is the count of the number of days where sunrise is after 8 o'clock in the morning. So with standard time, which is what we're used to having in the winter, it looks pretty good. But the bottom two maps, if we had permanent daylight time, the winters would be very dark in the morning for many weeks and months out of the year. Some places would not even see the sunrise until after 9 o'clock or 9:30. So when we've tried permanent daylight time, famously in 1974, drowsy driving in the dark, it unfortunately was leading to several deaths of school children, even some morning sexual assaults, and disruptions of construction, farming, people who are working outdoors who really need that morning light during the cooler hours of the day. So there was a huge public outcry, and thankfully it was repealed that same year. This is why we have many endorsements now of permanent standard time, especially from groups for health, education, and safety, but also a few news editorial groups. And all of these are listed on our website, stagestandardtime.com. Federal law states that you must change your clock unless you pass a state law saying you want permanent standard time. So this is how Arizona, Hawaii, and the 5 territories avoid the clock change. And any state could do this. Unfortunately, most legislators don't know that they can do this, and they think that Arizona got some kind of special permission. And many of them think that they can do permanent daylight time instead, but that's not allowed under the federal law. That hasn't stopped them from passing these laws, though. This is a tile map of the United States and Canada and the National Congress of Mexico. And the states that are filled in with yellow are currently practicing permanent standard time. The states that are outlined in blue have passed laws saying that they will go to permanent daylight time if the federal law were to change to permit that. It's easy to pass a law that says you want permanent daylight time. Because it's against federal law, you can't put it in practice, so there's no immediate negative repercussion. It's hard to pass a law for permanent standard time because people get nervous about going it alone, saying, well, I've got a metropolitan area on the state border. If Missouri does this, what about Kansas City? If Oregon does this, what about Portland? And so on and so forth. Now, the spots and X's, those crosses and circles, are showing where we have current legislation right now today. So we have a lot of legislation for permanent standard time in yellow, and we have some for permanent daylight time still in blue. And those that are X's and crosses are where we've had legislation this year, but unfortunately it's failed. So we have this all on our website if you'd like to see further details on that. We also have it as a table on a list. And many of the permanent standard time bills are doing well, such as in Nebraska, California, Oregon, Kansas, Nevada, Alaska, Maine. But some of the permanent daylight bills are also doing well, unfortunately, in Nebraska, North Dakota, Texas, and others listed here. And again, it's all on our website. Please check it out. We have many more resources on our website. We have charts and images, position statements, sources. We have forms for you to contact your legislators. We try to make it as easy as possible to tell your state and federal legislators that you want standard time, not daylight time. And we do have ways to donate and to join our free email list. We can send you alerts when there's hearings in your state. It's really important to contribute to hearings in writing or in person if you can. There's also a new coalition for permanent standard time at ditchdst.com. This is a group effort with 8 nonprofits for health and safety, and we have many resources on the website there as well. And I'd like to remind everybody that you might think that you like daylight saving time, but you probably just like summer. And so once again, there's my contact information. I'd be glad to take any questions if there's time, and thanks so much for this opportunity to speak with you.
Great, great. We have, yes, we have a lot of time. We have about 40 minutes to discuss that and understand better how we can support advocacy effort, how we can make it happen, like we're in the state of Louisiana and state of Texas here rooted. Go ahead, Mr. David Brown.
Yeah.
You have a question? Go ahead.
Oh, I don't have a specific question. I was concerned. Is there any legislation in Congress, United States, to make it standard time, or is it purely has to go by state?
Well, yes, that's a great question. So it can be done at the state or the federal level. And unfortunately, at the federal level, there is only legislation favoring permanent daylight time. I have had several members of Congress, representatives and senators, tell me that they want to support a bill for permanent standard time, but they don't want to put their name on it first. They want someone else to lead it. And so that's the real tricky part, is finding a member of Congress who has the courage to step forward and say, I support permanent standard time, and file that bill. We do have draft legislation on our website to make it as easy as possible to show how that bill could be worded. It's a very simple thing. You're just abolishing daylight saving time. You're striking out. It's making the law simpler, making the code shorter. So please do reach out to your members of Congress in the Senate and the House and ask them to file our bills.
A question, Jay. What are they afraid of? What is those who are hesitant?
Well, so this all sort of began in 2018. The Florida state legislation passed the first bill for permanent daylight saving time. And this was backed by the Florida Chamber of Commerce and Golf Association because they believe that if you force people to wake up earlier, they're going to go shopping more or play more golf in the evening, and they'll make more money. And so when that bill was passed in Florida in 2018, the next year, many states said, oh, I didn't know you could do that. And so they all copied Florida. So in 2019 and 20, we had many states passing these bills. And now a total of 20 states, unfortunately, have passed bills saying they want permanent daylight time. So as members of Congress, they look at that and they're seeing, okay, 2 states have chosen permanent standard time. 20 states have said they'd like to choose daylight time. And so that's the simple numbers of it, is that they need to see more states saying that they want permanent standard time. They need to hear more from their constituents. And a lot of this push for permanent daylight time is not really well thought out. They're not looking at the history. They're not looking at the science. And to me, it's just kind of first principles, basic common sense logic that if we're going to choose a permanent clock, it should be the one that's aligned with the sun, best for health and safety, and historically lasts the longest. But rather, most of them initially just think, which one do we do in the summer? I like summer, and they choose daylight saving time, not realizing that you can't magically turn the winter into summer by changing the clock, not thinking about how it would make it dark until 8:30 or 9 o'clock in most states. That's unfortunately the situation that we have right now.
Yeah, I agree, and I
you.
think few things. The Sunshine Act is something that was introduced a few times in the past, and it takes sometimes the thinking of the people, as Jay was saying, that it will provide more sun, so it's a good thing. But the problem and why there is this debate between the daylight saving and permanent standard time is the health issues that comes with the daylight saving, right? As Jay know, and we advocate with the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, and there is a lot of literature talking about the health issues. Basically, you're not following your natural rhythm by waking up when it's dark and going to sleep when it's light. We want people to wake up when it is light and go to sleep when it's dark, like our old farmers used to do. And there is a lot of health implication of reversing that and not following the rhythm that your body needs. And that was part of the problem with implementing the daylight saving in the past, in the 70s, where there were more accidents and more health hazards associated with that. That's why the medical community in general and the sleep specialists in particular are really against the daylight saving. We want permanent standard time. And there is a lot of data and literature to support that. The problem can be more regarded as also economical issue, like the faculty of tourism and some people, as Jay mentions, think there will be more light time, which allow more time to go and shop, for example. But that's not necessarily true. That we are not asking to eliminate the period of light. We are just asking to adjust it more to us, how our body function. And in places like Texas, for example, you might have this pseudo light thinking, but it will be hot. People will not do much out there. That's why we do think that the daylight saving is an issue. And I think most people who understand the science behind it understand that this is the way to go to the permanent standard time. It's just a matter of educating the public. And that's why I agree with Jay. We need to be proactive about educating the public. If we are physicians, we educate the people even in the clinic. We want to reach out to legislators and lawmakers and advocate for what we know is best for this country, especially with the experience people had with the daylight saving in the 70s and so forth. So, so with this being said, how do you feel, Jay, about the health hazards associated with daylight saving? Do you want to shed more light to our audience here, or what happened when this was tried in the 70s?
Well, yes. So, as I mentioned, standard time is meant to be the clock that's tied to the sun, where 12 p.m. corresponds to high noon at the meridian of each time zone. And now, if you live at the eastern or western edge of your time zone, that might be give or take half an hour, but that's still pretty good alignment. When we're on daylight saving time, we have a misalignment of an hour or more. Essentially, so when you spring your clock forward, now I live in Arizona, so I don't have to do this, but a month ago, most of you were turning your clocks forward, or they turned themselves forward an hour. And so really that makes your clock an hour fast. So it's called fast time to some. Daylight saving time is called fast time. What it does is it makes your alarm clock sound an hour earlier. So you might be finding that now you're waking up by an alarm clock in the dark, whereas I'm waking up with the sun naturally, no alarm clock needed here in Arizona. That's cutting into your sleep. Your sleep, you have an hour less time to be sleeping in the morning. Meanwhile, also, the added evening daylight at the end of the day makes it harder to fall asleep at night. I was just in Austin, Texas, and I had to draw the blackout curtains and meditate and drink tea and try to get sleepy because I knew my alarm clock was going to wake me up the next morning in the dark. You're losing time for sleep at both ends of the day when you're on daylight saving time. Now, if you're sleeping less and if you're having interruptions in your sleep, you have less quality of sleep, that is a wear and tear on your body and brain. It can lead to, over the long term, chronic health problems with the heart and your neurological conditions, diabetes, cancer rates significantly increase. Daylight saving time and circadian misalignment can also measurably decrease performance in school, productivity in the workplace, and even earnings. Revenue is lower when we have this circadian misalignment. Yeah, if they called it government's going to wake you up early time, no one would vote for it, but they call it daylight saving and sunshine protection. They give it these rosy names to try to sell it on you. Now, there is still hope in this. Gallup released a national poll just a month ago that found 48% of Americans support permanent standard time compared to only 24% of Americans supporting permanent daylight saving time. Now, President Trump famously said also just a month ago that he perceived this as a 50-50 issue, an evenly split issue, so he didn't want to get involved with it anymore. But the reality is it's not quite as evenly split as it appears. Most Americans are supportive of permanent standard time, not permanent daylight time. I think there's simply a loud minority. There are different demographics that support permanent daylight versus permanent standard versus based on if you work outdoors or indoors, if you live in the city or in a rural place, if you have children, what your age is. All of these factors can come into play as to which clock you think that you prefer and which clock you really feel you prefer. And so I think many of the daylight saving time fans simply might be louder and might have more time to be tweeting about it.
May I ask a question? What are the other industrialized countries doing in contiguous countries like Mexico and Canada about daylight savings?
Thank you. That's a great question. Most of the world observes permanent standard time. Daylight saving time was invented in Europe and picked up quickly in America and Australia and New Zealand. Several other countries around the world have tried it and abandoned it, but we're still kind of hanging on here in North America and Europe and Australasia. Mexico just 2 years ago opted for permanent standard time. The president at the time said that they needed to keep their natural biorhythms. He referred to it by the common nickname of God's time, which is applied because it's the clock that's based in nature or creation, if you will. So if the United States were to choose permanent standard time, it would realign us with Mexico, which could be better for trade. And of course, it would certainly be better for our health, safety, education, and economy. Canada has been talking a lot about this as well, but they largely want to do whatever the U.S. does to keep in sync with us for trade and social relations. The European Union has been talking about this a lot. There is a good proposal in Europe from the Time Use Initiative to abolish the clock changes and to keep standard time, which they unfortunately call winter time. I say unfortunate because it can give the association of thinking that it's going to make it wintry weather all year. But I promise you, summer will always happen no matter what the government does. So yeah, there's a great proposal in Europe to get rid of daylight saving time, keep standard time, and also to fix some of the time zone misalignments. Several nations in Europe are observing the wrong time zones, and they have lower productivity rates as well and higher rates of absenteeism due to those incorrect time zone observations. So this is a worldwide movement, and we're really hoping that the basic common sense and the science and the history for permanent standard time will win out very soon.
Fantastic. I think I have some few poll questions here. Jay was just talking about polls, so I'll just put one of them in the chat and let's see. So when did the United States first implemented the daylight saving time? So anyone in our crowd here want to answer this? It's not a question. Jay mentioned about it when he was discussing.
I know the answer, but I don't know if you want me to spoil it yet.
Yeah, let's see if anyone wants to.
So,
take a
so
chance.
1917, I think you said. So did we follow Europe? Reason we went to it?
Shall I go ahead answering or let a few more people guess?
Anyone else want? It's very close. I have the answer here. I will share it with you after we.
1918.
19. Okay, Jay, you want to give the answer?
Yes, so my recollection is that it was first started in 1916 in Europe, in Germany and Britain, and then the United States followed in 1918. And these were done for the World War. The theory being that if we force people to wake up earlier, they'll work a little bit harder for the war effort, and hopefully they'll go to bed earlier and save on the electric light bill for the war effort as well. And it turns out that waking people up earlier makes them less efficient and productive when they're working. And it also makes us turn on our heat in the morning, which consumes more energy than any electricity from lights we might be saving. And just because we're waking you up earlier does not mean you easily fall asleep any earlier. So yeah, the whole scheme fails at its stated intentions. It doesn't save energy or increase productivity.
Yeah, I agree. So here is the answer. The United States first implemented the daylight saving March 19, 1918.
There
So
it
Jay
is.
was right on the dot, and it was wartime measure to save energy during World War I. And as he alluded, it didn't really help much as we were talking today. And it is important, I think, to be aware about this history because unfortunately, some people can use this as a mean, say half of it. We implemented it in World War I, so why we wouldn't try it again, right? So the reasons is what we have been discussing today. Great. Now the second question here. Okay. When did the US did adopt the permanent standard time to combat the energy crisis? And then it was repealed after one winter.
Any guesses on what exact year that was?
74.
Fantastic. We have good audience here, Jay.
Yes, so in President Nixon, in addressing the oil crisis of the 1970s, he said to Congress, "We need to save energy, so let's lower the speed limit. Let's do this. Let's do that. Daylight saving time. That's supposed to save energy in summer. Why aren't we doing that year round? That'll save energy year round, right?" So Congress passed the Emergency Daylight Saving Time Act that went into effect. I think it was January 6th in 1974. And then it was repealed 10 months later, tragically after many school children were, their lives were lost due to drowsy driving in the dark.
Great.
I have a question. So what is, let's say I wanted to promote permanent standard time in, public schools, for example. What would be an approach, or what have you, those who really understand the difference, like that whole education piece, how has that worked?
Well, I mean, myself, I came to this for several reasons. My great-grandfather was a farmer, and he taught me to tell the time based on the sun's position in the sky. And I also have a hobby in amateur astronomy. I really appreciate that with time, we are measuring the heavens. We're measuring where the sun and the stars are. I can tell the time of day, the time of night. I can tell the time of the year based on where the sun and the stars are. So anybody who has an interest in the natural sciences, astronomy, navigation, geography, this really ties into permanent standard time. Also, interests in biology, circadian health. We are genetically entrained. We do have an intrinsic circadian rhythm beating throughout every living cell of our body. And I think it's a beautiful, fascinating concept. And so anybody interested in the biology courses in school could very likely take an interest in this. I also enjoy practicing yoga, and I know there are certain exercises that are recommended at certain hours of the day. Just like it's better to be sleeping or awake at certain times of the day, there are certain times of the day that are better for exercise and for eating. It's a broad, fascinating range of appeal for this. Now, if you have any maybe a PTA group or a Start School Later chapter, you could be getting involved with that as far as getting more organized and reaching out to your state legislators and trying to encourage them to support or introduce legislation for permanent standard time in your state capitals and reaching out to your members of Congress.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think the piece that the people who support the daylight saving about energy, really the studies there don't support that implementing the daylight saving will save that much energy, which I think is a cornerstone for why they advocate for it. I think big part of this is educating the public about the health hazards associated with this versus that. And when people understand that, their opinion changes. And faculty of tourism and, the idea that this will also boost the economic, buying power. I don't know also if there is enough to support that even. So these are the two main points that people who advocate for the daylight saving time are trying to sell for the public to go for it. So I really think that what we do as in our medical community to advocate for the permanent standard time and educating people about this will help tremendously. And as Jay mentioned, reaching out to local legislators and congressmen and hopefully raising more awareness about the issue will help us to achieve this goal. Do you think, Jay, that there is an easy way for people like to reach out to their local representatives? Do you think they can do it through the websites, in person? There's easy ways for people to voice their opinion about this to their local representatives?
Well, yes, the easiest way would be to go to safestandardtime.com, and we have our Take Action page where we have several forms. We have a form at the top to contact your members of Congress. And then we have, for every state that has active legislation, we have a form that you enter your name and address and hit send, and it will send a message to your state legislators as well. Now, I don't collect your mailing address. I have no use for that. But we just need your mailing address so we know who your legislator is, because it's determined by your home address. If you want, also, you can go to any website, search the web, and find who your members of Congress and your members of state legislature are, and send them a direct message yourself. Really, if you'd like to do more than just the easy way of clicking our form, more effective is to be reaching out to them in person, visiting their offices or making phone calls. Also signing up for our emails, and we will alert you whenever there is a hearing relevant and you can be contributing to these hearings. The process for legislation is that a bill gets filed, it gets referred to a committee, there's a hearing in the committee, and then the bill might die in that committee, or it might advance out of the committee. So that hearing in the committee is really a critical phase for every bill. So if you're able to contribute to these hearings, that is very effective as well. But any help that you can give, if it's simply clicking a form or if it's going the extra mile of subscribing to our email list and contributing to these hearings and reaching out personally to your legislators, we need all the help we can get on this issue, because it's such an abstract concept, time. I mean, we all want to, save the whales because we know what whales are, but a lot of people don't know what time is, and so it's a little bit harder to explain. As far as you mentioned a little bit about data for spending, there is commonly an argument that daylight saving time will save energy, it will boost spending. But when we look at these studies, it doesn't save energy. It's usually flat. It's usually a wash, or in some cases, daylight saving time is actually wasting more energy because, as I mentioned, when we're sleeping less and waking up earlier, we're consuming more energy, especially the heat in the morning. Also, it's spending. Several of these senators that are promoting permanent daylight time, they'll point to one or two studies showing, hey, when the clock springs forward, spending increases. But they're looking at studies that only look at the clock change itself. So yes, if there is a sudden change in light levels from morning to evening, that might stimulate a change in spending habits. But if we get rid of that change to go to permanent daylight time, that study really isn't any relevant anymore. And when we look at studies that are looking at the permanent time, the long-term chronic effects, we're finding that daylight saving time does not boost spending, and it simply drags our productivity and economy overall.
Yeah, I agree. Great. I did share some of the resources here for Saving Standard Time website and the American Academy of Sleep Medicine and Sleep America. And Karen will be able later to put these on the US America website so people can go there and look more into those resources. And I personally think that the Safe Standard Time organization is great, and she has done a great job together with other colleagues, because really this is a very important mission. And I feel sometimes that the education part is missing in the public eyes, right? When I meet people and they start telling me, oh, we want to enjoy the sun and we'll have more sun, I spend some time explaining to them the drawback of this. And I think part of this also is to explain to people we talk to that the permanent standard time will not take away any sun from the mixture here. We are just aligning, as I mentioned earlier, our bodies to the nature, what nature dictates here. So the resources are here. Now I'll send them, and Karen will add them at the end, as I said, to the US America. Okay, do we have any other questions?
I have brief question. Just would like to understand what would be, is it like any issue with like bipartisan issue? If we go to, I mean, is any difference if we go to Democratic versus Republican, Republic versus Democratic senator representative? It's number one. And number two, is any critical mass of requests should come to representative to make them to start supporting this decision? What is your experience in that? What was most successful case kind of when things clicked in the right way? Is it party related, or it was just critical mass of requests from public coming?
Well, yes, a lot of people ask me if this is a partisan issue, and the answer is no. We have many Democrats and Republicans who support permanent standard time and who support permanent daylight time. The Sunshine Protection Act that we oppose in Congress is authored by Florida Senator Rick Scott, Republican Party, but it's also sponsored by Massachusetts Senator Ed Markey from the Democratic Party, and Washington Senator Patty Murray from the Democratic Party. So there's a lot of Democrats and Republicans that are signing on to that permanent daylight bill in Congress. And there are a lot of Democrats and Republicans who tell me that they would support permanent standard time once someone puts their name on it first. And it's the same thing at the state level. It's very mixed on which parties are supporting what. Now, I would always prefer a bill to be bipartisan. So when we get a bill filed in Congress, I would want it to be sponsored by Democrats and Republicans, not just one party or the other. We wouldn't want this to turn into a partisan issue. If it were to be partisan, then I would hope that it would be the majority party at the national level, which is currently the Republican Party. And at the state level, it varies state by state which party is in power. But bipartisanship is always best for this issue. As far as your second question as to what's most effective is really the numbers. The more people who are contacting their lawmakers and saying, I want standard time, not daylight time, the more they will listen. I mean, politicians, they're supposed to represent their constituents, and so the more constituents that are reaching out to them, the better. Now, I'd like to make a special note. There is a hearing scheduled on Thursday in the United States Senate on this topic. It's the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation, which is chaired by Republican Senator from Texas, Ted Cruz, and co-chaired by Maria Cantwell from Washington, I believe. There are many members, I think maybe 20 members of this committee. So there will be a hearing in Washington on Thursday. If my schedule allows, I have a lot of travel, but I will hopefully be there in the audience. A member of the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, Dr. Karen Johnson, is one of the 4 witnesses testifying, so we're very glad to have her there. The other 3 witnesses, unfortunately, one is from the Golf Association. There's 2 others, and they're not, unfortunately, from health and safety groups. So I would recommend please reaching out to your members of Congress as soon as possible, today, tomorrow, early next week, to let them know that you oppose the Sunshine Protection Act. You don't want permanent daylight saving time, that you want to see new legislation or an amendment for permanent standard time. This is a really key moment for this legislation in Congress, with the hearing coming up on Thursday.
Yes, we definitely will support. We have Mike Johnson, Shreveport, and Karen will be working on getting letter to Ted Cruz because she's located in Texas. Yeah, this is well, we're praying for in the name of all gods. We're praying, depending on faith people have, that it will go through and humanity will get, like you said, God's time, according to our neighbors. Yeah, so that's and one more question also, in terms of like testifying. I just hear that a lot of representatives from different groups coming there, but do we have anybody who, let's say, was victimized by that situation and who would like to testify? Have you ever had that experience?
Yes, that can be very powerful as well. We've had persons come to some of these state hearings and talking about if they have narcolepsy or sleep apnea, and or just simply that they've noticed that it's harder to get to bed on time, get the kids to bed on time now that we're in daylight saving time. It's harder to wake up in the morning, needing an alarm clock. It's dark. Those personal stories are very effective for the legislators. They do want to hear that if you or your family is suffering by this, and you would rather make it easier to get a good night's rest every night, if you support this, the natural circadian rhythms, to please tell these legislators to resist the urge to pursue permanent daylight time and instead get back to the sensible, natural God's clock of circadian health and permanent standard time.
Yeah, I would echo that. And I would say it's very important that we show real examples from patients and families. That's very effective, as well as stories from physicians, for example. These are all very effective tools to convince the legislators, right, about the cause, right? We can tell them as much as we can about the scientific data, but having like actual medical stories and patients, that's the most powerful.
And if you're active on social media, you could be posting, talking about how you feel about this issue, whether you're typing text or speaking on video. The more people that are talking about this, the more it gets noticed.
I agree, 100%. And I can say in my own clinic, with the change of clock, I see that with patients coming sleeping less, teenagers who have more headaches. So we actually see the impact of this.
Oh, and someone just brought to my attention last week that tragically a child's life was lost in Texas. A 5-year-old boy was running to catch the bus. It was dark, and was struck and died in the hospital a few hours later. This happens every year in the spring and the autumn, in states across the country, that people send me these news stories of these traffic deaths after we spring forward in March, and in the autumn, in September, October, when we're waiting to fall back to standard time. So this is costing lives every single year. It's costing money every single year that we're observing this daylight saving time. Yeah. I'd like to, on another topic too, add that when people are talking about that they like daylight saving time, I mentioned before that they probably just like the summertime. They probably just like that spring is here. They like the longer daylight. Daylight saving time does not create longer daylight. All it's doing is forcing you to start your day earlier. Now, if an individual really wants to start his or her own work day earlier, then we should empower that. If you want to, if you're working from 8 to 5, and if you'd rather work from 7 to 4, ask your boss if you can come in early. If you own a business, open your doors earlier and shut them earlier. I mean, that's what we used to do. We used to have, it was very common for businesses to have special hours for the summer when the sun is already coming up earlier. But the idea of government mandating that everybody wakes up earlier, and to do so early in the year. We used to do daylight saving time only in the summer between Memorial Day and Labor Day, but the lobbyists pushed it to extend it from 3 months to 4 months to 6 months. Now it's 7.5 months long. And it's just it's absurd to be observing daylight saving time in early March and into October. Set the clock objectively to the sun, and empower people to be informed and choose what hours they feel are best.
Yeah, well said, Jay. And I agree. I think that also the flexibility of at the end of the day of people doing what they feel is right for them is part of the discussion, I know, with ASM. At the end of the day, we don't want to force anyone. We just want what's right for the public.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a list here. I know we are approaching the end here, so let me share this list. This allow me, let me see. I had prepared a list of the countries so this so maybe I can just share the link here, but there is a list of countries that I'll share this link. It might be okay. So this link here will take us to the list of countries that already observed the permanent daylight time, and this include Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Georgia, Iceland, Russia, Turkey, Iran, Jordan, Namibia, Soma, Syria, Uruguay. And there are other countries that might not observe the DST or have abolished it, like Japan, China, India, most of Africa, and most of South America. So
yes, this is a good point. Russia tried permanent daylight time in 2011, and they found that it was increasing automobile accidents and depression. And 3 years later, in 2014, they decided to abandon permanent daylight time and go to permanent standard time, and that's where they've stayed since then. The United Kingdom tried permanent daylight time in the late 60s or early 70s, and they gave it up as well. So it's not just the United States that has tried permanent daylight time and given it up. And ideally, that would be a lesson to go back to permanent standard time, which we haven't yet learned in the US, but I hope we will soon.
I agree. So I know we are approaching the head of the hour here. So any additional thoughts from anyone on attending today with our crowd? Questions, thoughts, ideas?
Well, I just would like to express thank you so much, Mr. Jade, for making this activity exciting for all of us, because we're physicians. I personally I learned from American Academy of Medicine was a lot of materials and support for this initiative, and today especially I appreciate your patience and your thorough, outstanding presentation, which helps us to move forward with that issue. And our organization also supporting you, and we will be using your materials and your tactics to strategically achieve that goal and get this permanent standard time in place. We'll work on Louisiana level and see what happens with Texas. Texas, a big state, and that may be the
Texas-
reason why folks kind of reluctant. But please don't give up on Texans. Texans are good people. Yeah,
I love Texas. I've been there twice in the last month, and I was
Yes.
there. I was there last year to view the solar eclipse, and I have family in Texas as well. Texas is a very important state this year, so if you have any roots in Texas, family, business connections in Texas, or if you live in Texas yourself, please reach out to your legislators. We do have the contact form on our website, and we have the list of the bills on our website as well. On our website, we have images too. We try to make this as visual as possible because, as I said, time is such an abstract concept for most people. So we have maps and diagrams and charts and historical clippings, and we try to make this as easy and as accessible as possible. Look up Safe Standard Time on your favorite social media network and follow and engage with us there. Yeah, reach out to your legislators, subscribe to our email, donate if you can, and thank you so much for attending this talk today. It was great to speak with you.
Yes, thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we'll collaborate.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Thank you very much, Jay. Thank you. And Karen will make the video available and the resources I put here on the website so it can be available for everyone. So thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Have a blessed day. Thank you. God
Thank
bless
you.
you.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.